Welcome back to the Homeownership podcast, creating spaces where we belong. Thank you, as always, for taking any time to join us and listen to these conversations. Today, I have two wonderful guests lined up because I've been following them on social media. I'm seeing these engaging videos talking about home ownership. And as a new homeowner, we'll go into that, just wanted to have them on to share some of the joys and challenges and talk about the wonderful work that they do. So I'm going to pass it off to them to let them introduce themselves.
All right, my name is Ashley Bolden. I work out of Keller Williams Real Estate in Everett. Been in real estate for about 8 years now. Let's see. I don't know what else is about me. I have two little kids. I have a 6-year-old. Well, she just turned 7-year-old, a 3-year-old. I live in North Everett. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. I love being involved in the community. So do a couple of things with the community. And yeah, thanks.
All right. I'm Cami Anthony, and I'm with Motto Mortgage Collective here in Everett. I've been doing mortgages for about 10 years, and I also have 2 kids, and I also live in North Everett. And
well, hey, neighbors, because I'm in North Everett right with you now.
And there you go.
Right. But, you know, it's interesting, even with the introduction here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why I have people introduce themselves the way they do. And I've said this on a couple episodes before, but it's like sometimes if we're doing some sort of a training or introducing ourselves, people often start with the roles that they have, which is absolutely fine. And then some people will start with a family situation. Some people will talk about the community. And so it's always up to whatever you choose. There's no wrong way to introduce yourself because it really kind of just highlights who you are, what's important to you. So thank you for introducing yourselves. But actually, I do want to highlight what you mentioned about community, because that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you both on. I see you out in the community. I see you at so much stuff. It's like, if I ever want to know what's happening, go to Ashley's page and it's like, hey, here's what happened, right? You know, because you're totally involved, whether it's with, well, I'll let you talk about the organizations and some of the different things that you attend quite regularly.
Yeah, I think sort of like the primary thing that gets me out to events is the Greater Everett Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, like I'm interested in business, and you're really supporting the growth of the economy in Everett. And so like, I think that's what's up. I think it's where it's at. So as many of those events as I can go to, I try to make it to those. And then I'm currently on a couple of boards. I'm on the board for the Everett Recovery Café.
Okay.
And I'm also on the board of the Everett Rotary Club. And so I think in both of those roles, I do a fair amount of, kind of like just recruiting, like getting people excited and involved in things in the community and connecting them to those. So whether that be to the Everett Recovery Café or to Rotary or whatever it is that they're looking to do, I'm really interested in that. So it hits like this intersectionality for me, like kind of like business, people development, service. And so like for me, it kind of like, I don't know, makes this like nice little like proportionality for my life. Like I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Right. And thank you for sharing that, because somebody who may see a business card or see that you work in real estate, that might be all they see you as. And it's like, there's so much more. But could you share a little bit more about Recovery Café and Rotary? What specifically do they do within the community?
Oh, it's so funny that you say that people think I do real estate. They don't actually think I do real estate. They really they think I'm like with the Recovery Café. Right. But so the Recovery Café is really a place that creates a space for healing and community for people to get on a path to recovery and just continue that recovery journey for their entire lives. So that may mean that sometimes they're involved with the cafe more or sometimes less. But really just to encourage them to continue growing and become like the fullest, best version of themselves. So that's what the Recovery Café is about. And then obviously Rotary Club is really, it's just a service group. It's, if I kind of think about like the origins of it, it was like a group of people that got together that were originally like business owners or people that were in the community and coming together to serve the community that they work in.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I guess my thing is like, I remember even as a youth, I heard about the existence of Rotary.
Oh, yeah.
But never really knew what they did, what their purpose was. And now as I'm seeing more with Rotary, I've presented at a couple Rotary meetings in Marysville and Port Gardner, I want to say it was. Oh, and then also out in Snohomish. But what I would really love to see with some of these community organizations that have been around for so long, really how do we work to collaborate to support our communities? Because
Oh, yeah.
I feel like even with all the organizations, whether it's Kiwanis or Rotary or Lions, that we still have people falling through the gaps. And when we talk about Recovery Cafe, I'm glad to have those organizations. And how do we better support our youth and our young adults and even older people from going down those pathways where they need this additional support?
I mean, that is the question of questions,
Yeah.
isn't it? I think from my perspective, it really has to do with being really connected with each other. The more time that we can spend together, the better, right? Like, I think, our society really allows us to be, we're so self-sufficient in a lot of ways, right? And self-reliant.
That's the truth.
You know what I mean? Like, so we don't really you can order your food, you don't really have to necessarily be around a lot of people to get maybe basic needs, whatever that would be, met, But I think, the more connected we are, the easier it is to do that, because then you kind of know hey, this is what's going on. This is where the help is needed. And I think for some of these organizations, I think doing more work and understanding the unique needs of the community is really important. So
important.
More connection, more contact.
Right. Which brings me back to Cami's comment earlier. And I think this was even before we started going live. But I was talking about how when I was looking for a home, you don't even have to throw a stone, just glance. There's a realtor, there's a lender. And Cami's comment was basically, well, if you network. And so to talk about that whole connection piece, you have to be connected, or it's beneficial to be connected if there's the things you want to do or want to achieve. So Cami, I remember, oh my gosh, I can't remember how long it's been now, but I was at the Marysville Chamber, and that's where I met you. And there were several people. I think you even the most recent chamber meeting, you kind of even took the lead in the conversation of getting people to kind of circle together and start talking. Can you share just some of your motivation behind building community and getting people talking?
Well, I guess Marysville's my hometown. So that's where I grew up. And awesome. I enjoy being a part of that chamber. And I've been a part of that chamber for a couple years now. I think 2 years now. 1 or 2 years. Yeah, 2 years now. And so I'm comfortable there. It's a space I'm comfortable in. So it's a little easier for me to kind of take the lead. But I enjoy connecting with people and hearing people's story. And I'm involved in the Everett Chamber as well, and then some smaller networking groups. And as far as building community, I think that was something I was craving when I was younger. And I was in Seattle at the time. And so I've started with a Capoeira group, and Capoeira kind of builds community. And a really integral part of Capoeira is community. And so when I moved to Everett, I wanted to find that for myself again. I also had kids then. And so I wanted to be involved in community for them. And I want them to have community because, like you were saying, like both of you were saying, people can fall through the cracks.
Right.
But if they have a network of people holding them up, then I feel like success is more accessible.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I am grateful for, even though we don't hang out a whole lot, that you're part of my network, It's so whether it's if it's something I need or I know someone who needs something, I know I can call on you. And even if it's not something that you directly offer, somebody, because having those connections at the chamber, having those connections at the Rotary, having the connections in the community, we know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, right? And so there's never a situation where someone would feel like they have to go without. It's just a matter of having those connections and communicating with people. So how long have you been in the lending business?
I started in 2015.
2015. And what inspired you to get into that? I'm curious.
A job.
Well, that is a valid reason, a job.
I started as an admin in the mortgage department at All-Star Credit Union. And pretty quickly, just because of staff shortages, had to kind of be like a front end person answering calls and answering questions about mortgages, which, at first was pretty, I didn't know a whole lot. So it was putting people on hold and finding the answer, but it kind of grew from there. And I enjoyed, again, hearing people's stories, figuring out the puzzle of getting them into a home. And
you're making me think about, it was 20 years ago for me now, a friend of mine suggested that I get into the car business. And primarily it was because of my communication skills. And she told me I could sell ice cube to an Eskimo. And I'm like, is that a good thing? I don't know. But the thing was, at the time when I decided to take on that adventure, it was about money, right? It was like, hey, it's a job. I can make more money than I was making working on the maintenance team at the community college, you know? And so once I got into the role, talking with the sales manager and different people on the team, they're like, well, you're not just a salesman. You are here to meet people's transportation needs. And I was like, yo, that's dope. That's a good way to think about it, as opposed to just give me your money and here's a car, you know, but when you're really wanting to provide a service for people. So that's why I asked about the motivation. But one of the things that I pulled out of what you were just saying, you didn't go into it for the sake of, you know, helping people with that opportunity. It started as a job, and you started in an admin role. So for anybody that's looking for work, maybe this isn't necessarily where you see yourself, but you start somewhere, and the opportunities come available as we, you know, continue down those roads. And so, Ashley, what about you? What got you into the business?
You know what? So before this, I was working as a senior scientist for a nonprofit organization, and I used to watch HGTV.
Oh.
You know what it is, HGTV? Like, you know,
Right.
Love It or List It, or
yes.
Yeah, you know, whatever, Flip or Flop.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, man, I watch those shows.
We have a local folks that's on HGTV.
Yeah, on HGTV. Yeah, I was just kind of like I would just watch it, and I'd be like, you know, I think I could do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was kind of just more like, I think maybe kind of like two things. Like I was thinking about investing in real estate, and then I was thinking about it kind of, I think, from more of like let's have fun creative space.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I think restoring a house or doing like a renovation is like a very kind of like a creative process. Like, can you re-envision this? How can you make this better?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I was just thinking about having fun, actually.
That's awesome.
Having fun, invest money. I don't know. It all sounds like fun.
Yeah, because I think about, you know, sometimes if the conversation is just about making money, it's so easy to get disappointed because you're now relying on someone to want to throw money your way.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing it for that creative energy, the passion, the fun,
Yeah.
it can be more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just kind of for fun. And then it kind of like it morphed a little bit. Like I didn't really know a lot about the real estate industry at the time when I got my real estate license. And, you know, being here and just kind of learning more about like housing needs and all that stuff. For me, it's kind of like evolved into something a little bit different. And so I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. We said the key word, I've said it a couple of times, needs.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of the work that I've done in education, you know, we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And, you know, at the bottom is that food or air first, you know, but air, water, food, then safety and security and home ownership for access to housing, period. Let's just say that to start off with. Access to housing is a major safety and security point. And so I would love to kind of dig into the conversation about, you know, looking at the housing market here in Washington is kind of crazy. And I feel maybe it's more accessible in other places, but that's all depending on salaries. What are some of the things that are happening to ensure that people have access to that safety and security of housing?
I mean, I think as you were kind of introducing that question, like for me, I think we need to kind of change the discourse around housing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that the focus for housing has mostly been on like profitability and investment. And I think that people kind of skip over the part where you have housing security. You know where you're going to live.
Yes.
And I think that there are not enough millennials or young people asking themselves, where am I going to live when I'm 70? They're more thinking about, can I afford this right now? You know, like, is this the right time to buy a house? Like, you know, because they're trying to kind of like time market, and they're thinking about like, if I had a spreadsheet, how much money will this house make me? They're not thinking about where am I going to live at 80?
Right.
Because I think if they were thinking about where they're going to live at 80, they would be like, okay, I need to buy this house right now. Because it's going to take you 30 to 40 years to pay this house off. And when you're 70 years old or 80 years old, you're probably not going to want to work a full-time job, and you're not going to want to pay like $30,000 a month for whatever, senior care living or whatever, you know, like those, they're very expensive.
Yes.
And they're not even thinking about like, okay, what's that going to run me? Because if you kind of think about it from that, you know, if you think about it on that time scale, like $3,000 a month right now is a steal compared to 20. I don't know, who knows what it's going to be in the future. Like if our economy keeps growing, I mean, it could be like $25,000 a month to be in one of those senior care facilities. So I don't know. I think that I'm not saying that you can't think about housing from a profitability perspective. I think that people should think about it in that sense, but I don't think it should be the primary driver. I think they should be thinking about more like how do I make sure that I have a place where I can live that's not going to cost me a lot of money 30 years from now.
Right. Yeah. And I think that makes a lot of sense because it even goes back to the conversation we're having about doing something for a purpose other than income. Right.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I rented for a number of years. And in some recent conversations, thank you, Cami, and others, it was like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to pay rent forever? Because it's like, if you want to retire and you're then on a fixed income and you're bringing in less and rents continue to go up each year, it's like, how's that even going to work? You know? And so really thinking about, where am I going to live in my 70s and my 80s where I'm not subject to the fluctuation of what someone is wanting to charge me for a rent, or like you're saying, those homes.
They could even sell it. I mean, like I've seen that so many times.
That happened.
Like
to me.
I've gone into, like a nice multifamily, like a duplex, and lo and behold, there's someone there that's like a senior, probably retired, and they're paying like maybe $800 a month or $1,200 a month for that rent. Yeah. And now someone's going to buy it at market value, which is much higher. It's going to put that rent way higher, probably double.
Yeah.
Now that's a big problem for them, actually, because they weren't really planning to go from 800 or 1,200 to like 25. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. And now that person is now at risk. Like they're going to be potentially unhoused, or they have a financial obligation that they can no longer meet. And that is tragic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Really hard.
But no, it's not quite as tragic because we had options, I feel. But it was about 15 years ago now. I was renting a house down south in Puyallup. And the person who owned the home, I want to say it was actually the people who built it. And the housing market was kind of crazy back then. And it didn't sell. So they were just renting it, but they were renting it at lower than what the mortgage would be. Right.
Yeah.
One day I get home and there's a note on the front door saying that the mortgage hadn't been paid and that it was going to go into foreclosure.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hold up. We pay our...
You've been paying.
We've been paying our rent every month.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's going into foreclosure? And so then the person who owned the property was a total jerk and was saying, well, the rent doesn't cover what the mortgage on this house would be. And I can't afford this. And so, I'm just going to let it go. And I'm like, but you didn't tell us that. Right. And so now we're just kind of sitting there and we got to figure out our living situation, Yeah. And, we were able to buy something at that time when prices were a whole lot lower than what they are now. But yeah, if you are someone who is maybe older or, on a fixed income, it might not be an option if someone decides to, either let the property go into foreclosure or actually sell it.
Indeed. Yeah. It just puts you in a bad position. And so it's like, I think that there's like a time to rent. And I think that there's like a need to have more fluidity in people's mindsets, if you're in college, and maybe even then you can buy, but if you're in college and you're going to be somewhere for like 3 years,
right?
Maybe you rent. If you're like, hey, I'm not really sure where I want to like live and I'm going to do a bunch of moving around, rent. But I think once you've made a decision about, hey, I'm going to do this for a while, I mean, you should really be thinking about like, maybe you're going to start accumulating equity or whatever, but, start making some moves to putting yourself in a more secure position.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of my thought too, going back to when I moved up to this area in 2019. They always say never buy in your first year. And so I remember getting there and looking at the area because I love the area. It was a beautiful area. And at the time, moving up in that first year, I knew I couldn't afford it. And so my hope was that, hey, let me stay here for a couple years, get myself into a role where I actually can afford it, and then I'd buy.
Yeah.
But the housing market was going up faster than my income was going up. So as much as I would have liked to have bought in the community where I was renting, that wasn't happening.
I mean, I agree. I think that people need to stop trying to time the market because you can't do it. And if you are trying to time the market, now is probably a good time to buy a house, because if rates go down, then everybody's going to try to buy a house. So then your competition is significantly increased. And I feel like our generation, millennials, Gen Z, is kind of spoiled by the what rates were, and they need to give up on 3% interest. They just need to let that go, because if rates go down to 3% again, that means something not great has happened in our world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, last time rates were 3% was a global pandemic.
Yeah. And they also need to let go of the fact that it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this housing is cheap.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about the future. This is cheap housing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even like the Everett market, I think it's like completely undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
Like just think about what it's going to be in 20 years. It's going to be ridiculous.
Right.
One of the challenges I have with that is what could potentially be the cap on it, if that makes sense. Because what I think about is, I'm going to go way, way back in time here because I'm an old man, not that old. But I think about my mom's house, right? And the first house that she bought, I think it was like in 78 or so, if not 79, spent $25,000 for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 86, bought a house and it was like 60 something thousand.
Uh-huh.
And I remember my dad telling me, well, you know, if you ever rent somewhere, you know, you better not pay over $600-700 for your rent, because that's more than our mortgage. First place I wanted to rent in Washington was almost $900.
Right.
And now this was back in 2001. Okay. So we're still talking, you know, almost a quarter century ago. But, you know, looking at houses now, to find anything in this area under $500,000, $500,000, I don't see much, you know. And thank you for shaking your head. I know y'all can't hear that on the podcast, but we're shaking our heads. No, like you're not finding anything under
No, you're not finding
$500,000.
it. No.
And so let me just stick with this market here. For example, there was a house that sold in 89 that was $77,000. The house was on the market earlier this year for $770,000. Okay. So over that time period, it increased 10 times, which, I mean, profitability, hey, that's awesome. That's cool. But when we talk about affordability, what is that same house going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? And here's the thing, are salaries going to keep up with it? Because it's the same house, it's the same piece of land, but who's going to be able to afford that in 20, 25 years? I won't be worried about it because I hope to still be around, but I ain't trying to buy a house then.
I don't know. I don't know if salaries are going to keep up with what they need. I mean, because already they've increased the amount of when I'm trying to qualify for someone for a loan, they've increased the percentage of your gross monthly income that your debts can be. If that makes sense. Your debt to income can now go up to 50% of your gross, not your take home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big chunk. If housing costs keep going up, salaries are going to have to increase quite a bit to keep up with that. So I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah, but bro, it's part of the problem is salaries and housing are not necessarily correlated directly.
No,
that's really the problem right there. Like it's bad correlation. All right. So, you know, I think that's like the tricky part. I think you asked this question about, is there a cap on the value of housing? I think.
Or could there be, you know?
No, absolutely not. Come on. You know, like for your life, like our lifetime, like, you know, like someday down the road, like let's like throw it 40, 50 years out, we're going to die. Like that will be like our personal cap, but whatever the price of housing is then, right? But like housing is just going to, right? Because I think it's exactly like you're saying, you know, like there are people, they bought like a little like whatever JCPenney box house or a Sears box house for like $5,000 and now it's worth 500,000. I mean,
yeah.
As long as the United States and the world continues to grow, I don't think that we're all of a sudden going to see like houses like not get more expensive. I mean, the only thing that's going to really like change the way housing is priced is supply, right? It's a supply demand thing. It's a basic economics. And so like, I think that kind of gets a little bit conflated with income, right? But like the biggest issue is that we have a very, very low supply of housing. And that is part of the reason that the houses are so expensive. So low. We're not building enough houses at all.
Well, along with that, I remember hearing about some private equity firms that are buying up homes, and that's working to drive up the price of houses.
Yeah, well, why? I just told you, like, I think the housing market is completely undervalued. See, this is the problem. Like, you go and you look at like these private equity firms, they're looking at and they're saying exactly what I'm saying, which is, yeah, this market is undervalued. So I'm going to put a bunch of money into it because it's just going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But like, like a everyday consumer isn't really like thinking about a property in terms of profitability, right? They're using a different frame. They're thinking about, hey, I need somewhere to like raise my family. I need somewhere to live, I need somewhere to like, enjoy my life. And so like, it's really like different lenses.
Absolutely.
Very different.
Yeah. That's quite a challenge because if we're talking about investors and economists driving up the market and someone just needs a place to put their head at night, that's a difficult contract. And
it's silly. It's a little bit silly because the investors are doing these investments for who? Who? Yeah. Right. Like they're a lot of them are involved with like, 401ks. Like it's like a little bit funny, right? Because the market that is like driving the increase in the housing and the economy is actually the same people that are buying the houses to raise their families in. It's awkward. Like, I don't know how you like kind of have that conversation, right? But and private equity is not open to everybody, obviously, right? Like it just depends on who you are and like what your investment, like whether or not you can actually invest with those groups and whether or not you're aware of them. These mutual funds or whatever, these REITs and stuff like that are like buying up real estate and creating and turning them into investment assets or whatever. They're selling them back to, like whatever, Richard and Sharon, and they're over there buying them as an investment for their like whatever, their retirement.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. And they want to see that go up.
Oh, absolutely.
Anybody that owns real estate, nobody is.
No, nobody wants it to
Do you want a cap?
Right.
On your real estate, like once you're in, nobody. No one wants it to go down.
You do not want it to stop. You don't want it to go down.
Thank you. Right.
I get it. And so I was having the same conversation with someone probably about a month and a half ago about as painful as some of this stuff may be when you're looking at these high mortgages, we benefit from it. And here's my crazy analogy that I was thinking about. So it's going to come out all convoluted and keep it in. Don't edit it out because I think it's kind of crazy. But who all has seen the movie The Matrix? Okay, we've all seen The Matrix. Okay. I was having a Cypher moment. And, Cypher's the dude in the movie where he's talking with the agents about selling out Neo and whatever so he can just go back into the Matrix and be a part of the system, right? And now if you were outside of the Matrix, life was difficult. You were struggling. You didn't know when they was going to come for you, whatever. But you want that safety and security. And so it's like, hey, I'm willing to just, plug into this to get this benefit. And so when I think about sometimes home ownership, because you can't buy a home and just not work, right? You are now committed to feeding this system. So kind of like in the Matrix, being that battery for the system to continue to grow and thrive and be what it is, as opposed to unplugging from it. And I was just like, oh, but I do like my house. And yes, I want the value to go up, but it's like, it's hard because especially when I think about my role, my professional role, when we talk about equity, inclusion, social justice, even the theme of this podcast, creating spaces where we belong. So, hey, if you can afford a $500,000 house, you can buy a house. But if you can't, then where do you belong? Where is your safety and security? Where's your ability to be a part of this system that provides this benefit for you when you retire? We don't talk money because money is one of those taboo conversations. But it's like, I think about the career parkour I feel like I've played over the past couple of years and will continue to play to have the salary where I can purchase a home, but a lot of people don't have it, And if we're talking about equity, access, and meeting needs, I don't want my home value to go down, but I also want to make sure people are safe and secure. That's tough.
Yeah, I think it's hard because even from a being included perspective, if you're renting, like when I rented, I didn't know my neighbors. I didn't know any of them. And once you own property, all of a sudden you're plugged into the community in a different way.
Yeah, because I think being a renter and being an owner is a mindset shift.
It is. I agree with that.
Right? Like, and it's not like a negative or positive, right? It's just a different mindset. And I think that one of the things that's required to kind of like break free of this is shifting that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like renters have to start thinking like owners.
Say more.
I don't know. I mean, that's it. I don't want to reveal all the secret sauce. Come on, man.
Not the secret sauce. All right. But
I think that's what it is, right? Like, I think it's what it kind of comes down to, right? Like right now, I haven't rented for some time, but I think that the perception of renters is that they just kind of like, they don't feel like they have, I don't want to use like really harsh words, but like, it's kind of like they don't feel bought into the community. They don't feel like they're part of the community. They don't feel like they have any responsibility to the community. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like the reality is that the renter is paying, like you were saying, they're paying property tax. They are paying that mortgage. Like, you know, they have to like kind of like, I think, start thinking about the place that they're living more as an owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's what it is. I mean, like, you know, how that ends up looking in the future, I don't really know. But there is a real need for that like mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because even like, it's like, I don't really have any like basis or statistics or anything on this, but, you know, like even having people like, you know, when renters are like involved in the community or whatever. I mean, I think we're seeing more of that now, right? Because our community is like very biased towards more people that are being renters, right? So, and those people still want to be involved in the community and they still want to like make a difference. But I think there's like this part where, yeah, they just have to like shift their mindset. It's like everybody, right? Like everybody has to kind of like change their mind about what it means to be a renter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is a pretty powerful paradigm shift from the homeowners in the community and the renters. Because I think about, for me, I remember my mom bought the house, you know, again, back in the late 70s, but we were in an apartment before that. And I still recall, even when we were in a house, when I rode the bus to school, the neighborhood kids that were in the apartments, that was the clique. That was a tight group, right? So it was like, I, growing up, never had any kind of negative perceptions of people in apartments, like they didn't belong or they weren't part of a community. That seemed like the tighter community. When I lived in an apartment, when I was first married, I knew my neighbors there and we were connected because, you know, they're running on top of us or we're on top of them, whatever. But it's like there was that. And then I think I just got so used to renting at that time. But I 100% agree. The mindset of home ownership was totally different because when I owned my home, it's like, okay, well, let me make sure the irrigation system is working properly and the yard is fertilized and that the grass looks good and I'm doing all this stuff. I was that dude in the neighborhood, right? And then while I still cared internally for my space when I was renting again, it's like the outside wasn't for me to care for. That was the landlord. The landlord would be responsible for the paint and the maintenance of the outside of the structure. And so it's a different mindset. And now that I'm in another community, and this is where I go to with other homeowners, I don't feel like so many of my neighbors when I was renting would just come to me. I was the person who would greet them.
Yeah.
But as I'm moving stuff in the house, oh, hi, you're our new neighbor.
Oh,
hey, welcome. And it's like,
oh,
I've only been there for a week and I already know like 6 people on the block.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's just different.
More than what I knew for the 6 years that I rented in the other place.
Yeah. Well, I think the renters are kind of viewed as outsiders. And, and I think that even society kind of likes, they'll say to you like, well, you shouldn't rent because if you rent, you'll have nothing.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, you'll have nothing. And it's like, well, is that true? You have nothing when you're renting.
Well, financially.
Really?
At the end.
I mean, you have a place to live.
Right. And that's
right? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's this thing like nothing and actually having a place to live are very different.
Right. Well, yeah. But it goes back to even what we were saying in the beginning around if people are looking at it primarily as an investment and having money. But I really enjoyed where I lived, you know, and for someone to say I have nothing, I'm like, huh. But then they come over like, oh my God, dude, don't ever leave here because this is amazing. Oh, I'm glad that you can come here and enjoy this, that I'm renting, you know, but then like you're saying to say I have nothing. I'm like, every day when I lived in that spot, I would tell people, I feel like I'm going on vacation every time I go home because of what I get to enjoy in that space. And so I have no regrets for the time that I did rent in that space.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I wasn't building on any type of investment. So it's like, oh, I wish I could have. But also financially for me with the market, it didn't.
But you were building an investment, right? Like you were investing in yourself.
I like how you think. That's what we talk.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I think that like people are not really like looking at like the total, like if your total net sheet, like they're only looking at it through the lens of the dollars. And here's the unfortunate thing about dollars. Like dollars are like the lowest value.
Say it again.
It's like dollars are the lowest value, right? Like we use dollars to translate value because it's like the lowest common denominator. And people are so focused on like the lowest value that someone can offer. It's like completely ridiculous.
Preach.
Like it's like the value of having a place to live is worth more than $770,000. It's priceless. You see, and like people are so focused on dollars that they don't really have that much value. Like, I mean, I know people like think that they do. And, someone might be upset on the podcast for hearing that. But like, it's really unfortunate because it is literally the lowest value.
But I think that's so real. And it takes me back to a conversation with Seth Newsom earlier this season where he was talking about being engaged in the community. And what we ultimately got around to was that money is more of an abstract concept. Here's this piece of fiber, paper, whatever that I'm now going to give you for this product or this service. But it's really more about the connections and the community and the quality of life as opposed to that lowest common denominator you're talking about. So I'm right there with you. Yeah,
it is. It's tough. Yeah, I think like a really good example of it is like having a car and then the car gets totaled and the insurance company is like, here's your check for $1,500. Like, hey, bro, like $1,500 does not replace the value of that car getting me to and from work every day. Like the hassle, the stress, and this is like I think you'll be able to like see, people will be able to see that more clearly. Like $1,500 is not worth anything because now you got to be stressed out about like, oh, now I got to like find a way to get on this bus. Like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, dude. It's messed up. I don't know. Go Cam. I have a lot to say, but go Cami.
No. That was great. Keep going. I mean, as a lender, money has actually taken on less meaning because we're moving.
Okay.
Like you can move $1 million just like that.
Wow.
And it's like numbers on a computer screen going to another.
Yeah.
So it just feels even more ethereal to me than it did before.
Interesting.
I started in lending. But that's a little off topic.
No. I feel that's right on topic because I go back to reflecting on some of our conversations and the money in my mind was just like, it was just like this lump in your chest thinking about, okay, I got to pay how much per month and do this. And, what's my credit score and all the other stuff. And it's just like, and it's more of a mindset, and it's like, it's this abstract concept that is just these numbers on a screen, which I mean, means something to some people who are making some decisions out there. But it's like, how are we letting that really determine our mood and how we show up or not? Mic drop now.
Oh, man.
Man, we're getting heavy today.
Yeah. But I don't know that I have anything to add.
So, a lot of this conversation just really even takes me back to when we talk about community, talk about safety, security, belonging, and even the theme of the podcast, at home-ish, big old ish, a lot of ish. Creating spaces where we belong. But like as a lender, like what are some of your thoughts on how we can really make that attainable for people? What does that look like?
I don't know, multi-generational living, like creating community through multi-generational living, I think is a great way to make housing more affordable because if a parent and a child and a grandchild, like 3 generations, or, I mean, there's some state programs that can help people get into a home without needing to come to the table with a significant down payment. However, they still have to make the monthly payment. So they still have to qualify that way. And from what I see, that tends to be sometimes the biggest barrier is not necessarily the down payment because we've created ways to get around that, but the monthly payment and qualifying for that monthly payment, even though it's only $3,000, $3,500, $4,000 a month. I mean, that's a lot for somebody that makes minimum wage doesn't qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah, that can absolutely be a significant burden because I remember even just doing the math myself and was thinking about if I was paying $4,000 a month, like I think this is timely too, as I was cleaning up preparing for the move. And like in 2009, yes, my salary has gone up since then. But in 2009, I remember seeing a pay stub where I was making like $760 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So how am I going to pay a $4,000 mortgage if I'm not even making $1,000 a month?
Right.
I think this is where we kind of, go deeper into conversations about family and community and wealth, because I want to say there was something with the housing authority, federal, where they were changing some sort of rule because what they ultimately wanted was couples to stay together. And they felt like if they made it unattainable for people to afford homes on their own, then folks would just stay together and we'd build we could keep maintain the family unit. And I'm like, can you say counseling, therapy, and other things that actually make it a healthy environment? Because you can say multi-generational living, but there's some folks that don't want to live with their families, right?
Right. No, for sure. For sure. But how to make it, I mean, how are you going to make that payment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's where we got to get some other brains in, whether it's government, corporate executives, whoever, because this is where I'm going to get off on my tangent and they're going to like totally ban my podcast now. But when I think sometimes about a lot of the corporations that have multi-billion-dollar profits, and then you have people that don't even have a place to live. And I get sometimes when we talk about availability of housing, but it's like if the money, that low value dollar is out there that people don't have access to that would allow them to be able to get homes, there's some sort of restructuring that would need to happen between our governments and our corporations to ensure that people have their basic needs met.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, but that's going to require a cultural value shift.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like, so,
Yeah.
but and like, here's the thing though, like the government is really like a mirror.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's mirroring the values of the people that it governs.
100%.
Okay. So it's a little bit problematic,
Mhm.
When you kind of think about it from that perspective, because the same people that are like, hey, I can't afford this, or, that they're struggling, right? Their mind is thinking like the way the government is operating.
Mhm.
You see? So it's like, there's like this part where it's like, you got to kind of get your mind out of the matrix. Like, it's like,
Yes.
we have to start to like value different things,
Mhm.
and it's going to require a cultural shift. And man, it's really hard. I think it's very easy to sort of be like, oh, well, the government systems are causing all these problems.
No.
It's not. The system that everybody's talking about is in everybody's individual head.
Yes.
And that is the system they're believing in. And they're operating that system all day long. They get up every day and they do that system. And then the government does that system on their behalf and all this stuff. And so, I think when I think about housing affordability, like if we sort of think about that in an isolated sense, I don't think it's going to be solved with banking or anything like that.
No.
Like I think we just have to have different values.
Yeah.
Period.
Mhm.
And once we actually have different values and start to align our actions with those values, we will see a change. But if we're going to have the values that we have right now, which are like, hey, we value this very low value currency, this low value energy, then it will just be low value. Like it just is what it is. It's hard to kind of say that, but
No, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And you're making the behavior interventionist in me very happy.
yeah. So
Because back when I was, teaching, we would do a values unit. And
Mhm.
the question I would ask my kiddos is, well, first, identify your values. Let's define what they mean to you.
yeah.
And now that you've identified them, defined them, let's talk about your actions and do your values and your actions align.
Yeah.
And when we were having those conversations, like, oh my God, Mr. Johnson, I'm like, I know this is really this simple. And so it's great in our schools when we have those captive audiences and we can work with our kiddos and share that in the spaces where we have the time to do it. Because I was a special education teacher in a self-contained behavior program. And so my audience of 8 to 12 students is who got that. And it really helped them to go from a path of whether they were gang involved, substance impacted, had struggles at home. They were now exposed to this different way of thinking to say, yo, this path that isn't working for me, I don't have to stay on it. If I pause and think about what's really of value to me, this is what's important and this is how I can make this happen in my life. And that's what we did. And I'm still in contact with some of those kids today. And it's like, whew, I'm so glad that you were able to do this. But one of my challenges is I look out at the world, and I'll even, narrow it down to, here I am in my classroom. Here's the rest of the school. And not that the rest of the school was wholly challenged, but there were definitely individuals that were out there that weren't invitation only IEP, where it's like they're outside of my reach. I can't work with that person, you know? And then there's whatever's happening in the community. So even if I'm now a district administrator to where, I get to work with everybody in the district, well, now I don't have this part of the community.
Yeah.
So now in my role in local government, where it's like, okay, now I have the reach, but then it's like, still trying to get down into the weeds of how do we address some of these issues. So many conversations, and then housing affordability is just one of them.
It's part of it.
Yeah, because then there's also healthcare, and there's
we need like a different vision.
Yeah,
I feel like the vision of the United States right now is like, I don't know, it's some kind of like funny thing. If I could describe it, it's kind of like, I think for some people, their vision is like they're trapped in their social identity.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so their vision is like, I'm going to continue to be a Black woman, whatever that means, all the baggage and BS that comes along with that. And I'm going to just like act that out for my whole entire life. Right. And then there are some people that are like, hey, this is what the United States, this is what they say that I'm supposed to do. And they're just doing that thing. And I think, I don't know, like a lot of like not really like intentional thought around that. And I think we just need to make a new vision, like a better vision of like what we want.
Yeah, I absolutely stand by that statement. We are deeply ingrained in manufactured, socialized behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People just doing that identity.
Yeah.
Like, boom, I'm just going to go and do that identity all day.
That takes me back again to when I was in schools. And sorry, I have to laugh at this one. But my kids were like, oh, Mr. Johnson, you don't act Black.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, what do you mean I don't act Black? And it's like, well, you wearing your Timbs, but you got your jeans over the top of your Timbs. You're supposed to have like the tongue out. And I'm like, I'm not 12. Sorry. It's like, I'm an adult. I don't dress that way. But even how we say an adult should look or dress is still a socialized belief system.
Yeah.
And so it's like, can I just be me?
Yeah.
And there's so many facets of my identity. You even said intersectionality earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not just this one thing. But if we root ourselves to where this is our identity, this is who I am, this is how I have to operate, then we're just stuck in this rut. Yeah.
And I think that that's very true for individuals in this country and the country itself. Like we have developed this shared identity of what it means to be a U.S. citizen.
Proud
and it's messed up, bro.
American.
Yeah, but I don't even know. People are not actually proud about it.
Oh, no, but I'm saying.
Like they're almost, it's like disdain. People hate being U.S. citizens. Like, man, dude, you're not going to get much done if you're hating yourself, bro. Like, it's it's a big deal. Like, I think that there needs to be like a vision and an identity shift. And that's painful. There's whatever. There's maybe trauma. There's like all kinds of stuff that goes along with that and healing and all that.
We got some work to do.
But I think that would get at the root of the issue. If somebody wants to like kind of like fix housing affordability, like superficially, there's all kinds of things we could do more taxes.
Yeah.
We could like restrict who's allowed to purchase real estate. They could have legislation and policies that do that. And we could just kind of like, create some things. But yeah, I think to really like get at the root of it, it's going to require a change in values and a change in, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg. Do we change the values first or do we change the policies first? I don't know. It's a hard, maybe a bit of both.
I would say a bit of both. And I'm all about that root work. But it's interesting because the root work is that long work and people sometimes want those immediate results. And it's like, we've not gotten as deep as we need to go. Yeah. We can rake up the leaves here. We can trim these branches, but that's not going to help this tree right here. Yeah. We still going to have to deal with the cleanup every time that the wind blows or something happens in the yard. So crazy stuff.
Yeah. A lot of uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah. And I always say, people like, well, no, we have to be uncomfortable. I'm like, expand your comfort zone. Have those difficult conversations. Make them a little bit easier. identify your path forward. So the work I do, I often have people reflect on their personal values, identifying their personal voice, identifying what it is they most want to see. And then collectively, we can determine how we're going to move forward. But as we're getting ready to near the end of our time here, as we talk about what we most want to see and what we most need, I'm going to go into the closing question here. Okay. If you were to walk into a room, what would you want your theme song to be?
I don't know. I feel like this is such a hard question because it's so personal.
Well, that's the point of this. You're supposed to be revealing your soul right now.
I've been dreading this question.
This is your story.
The whole time.
Yeah. It's like, we want to know you.
I know.
We want to know, like the door opens, there's Cami. What's playing?
I know. I'm trying to sneak in quietly. You guys, silence. Silence.
You're trying to sneak in quietly. Come on, man.
So Cami, I'm curious now.
Oh my gosh.
Why is it that you just want to sneak in quietly?
I don't know. I like to get to know people like on a one-on-one. I don't necessarily want to make an entrance. Sometimes I do unintentionally, but it's not my goal.
So I'm gonna do something a little different here because this is at home-ish.
Okay.
Creating spaces where we belong. And you sound like you just want to kind of quietly walk in the room. There's no music playing. It's just all of a sudden, oh boom, she's there. Like, where'd you come from?
Magical.
Okay, so
Here.
just silently sneak in. All right.
I guess, do you know that song? Do you know that song by Bjork?
It's oh so quiet.
Maybe it's that one.
See?
Oh my God.
But then it gets loud, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can be loud.
I see you now. Yeah. I'm gonna sneak in, but then I'm gonna steal the show. All right. So Ashley, what you got for me?
Okay. I've got two. We got two options.
Okay.
One of them is X from Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Are you in 10?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one is probably Handlebars by the Flowbots.
I don't think I know that one.
No, man.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
You have to listen to it. Like, you know what? Like, I like that song a lot. Like, to me, when I listen to the Handlebars song, it reminds me, like, what I can do in a room. You know, like if I can show up and help or do something, I need to be reminded that like we're living in like the United States. Mm-hmm. Man, like we have so much access really. Like, you know, it's a weird thing because I think sometimes in the United States you can feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough or whatever. But it's like, man, we have just like a glut of opportunity here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could like do anything. Mm-hmm. Like literally. I mean, and in this time period right now, I mean, you know, as much as we can look back at the past and be like, oh man, all this, blah, 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 blah. Like today, oh my God, we can like, I mean, I could be like, hey, I want to become an astronaut. I could just start calling up people and I could like get on a damn rocket.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like seriously, you know, and I think that kind of access is not available to everybody on the planet. And like, I think that this song kind of like gets me out of that kind of thinking, which is like, I don't have access. I can't do anything. I can't get anything done. It just reminds me of like, boom. Snap me out of it. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to toss something out there too, because one of your comments made me think about a song, and I've not shared this one on the podcast yet, I don't think, but the artist is Bone Crusher, and the song is Hate Ourselves. And part of the chorus is like, why do we hate ourselves? You know, that's a good listen. So we had a couple songs there. We got some Bjork. I do love me some Bjork. And then Flowbots, and then some Kendrick. You can't go wrong with that. And then Bone Crusher, Hate Ourselves. Is there any message you want to share with the audience before we wrap up for the day? What are some ahas or, hey, here's something you should think about?
Thank you. Yeah, like, I mean, like I don't know. I appreciate being invited to do this. And I don't know, like we're in this, like people can't see the studio, but it looks amazing. It's very beautiful. It feels like so festive. I mean, now it's time to like get out the hot cocoa or whatever. And I don't know, like I'm just reminded of like, we're in a heated building right now. Like we're drinking like clean water. You know, I'm likely going to get home safely. And so I'm just happy to be alive at this time.
I can appreciate that. So I want to thank you both for being here. And again, the videos I've seen lately on social media, I'm like, we got to hang out more. We got to spend some more time and chat. And I still remember when we had coffee at Macario, that was some cerebral chatting right there. I was like, all right, give me my reading list. That's what Ashley does for sure. And so I appreciate both of you for how you've shown up in my life and how you show up in the community. So glad to be able to share you with my listeners.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to this episode of the At Homeish podcast. As always, we still have merch at the Homeownership Apothecary. I got to go check, make sure it's there. I need to order some more. I know I have some custom orders people have talked to me about. I'm going to get those out in the mail to you pretty soon. If I see you on the streets wearing it, I'm going to come up and say hi. Don't be intimidated by the 300-pound black guy coming your way, because that's me. You see my picture. You know what I look like. So, but thank you. There's a lot to think about. And, even if you're renting, don't believe that like you ain't got nothing. Live your life, be who you are, identify what's important to you, what fulfills you, and just enjoy your life. That's life's too short, and we don't know how long we got. But I think this will come out still during the holiday season. So if you're going into the holiday season, enjoy it. If it's past, hope you had a good one. Be well, take care, and when we wise up, we rise up. Peace out.